11 of the African Charter of Human and People's Rights. The court mandates the Nigerian government to pay 2 million naira in compensation to each victim named in the suit. All right, now joining me on the program at this time is Steve Agi-Ode. He is a legal practitioner from Lagos. Thank you for joining me, Steve.
My pleasure.
All right, would you say, let me just start off with this. Would you say justice eventually, particularly for those, that filed the suit as regards the Endsars? Is this justice?
Justice has been done. In that there's a judgment, their human rights have been violated. As justice is done, this is a treaty obligation that Nigeria entered in the African Charter, and it's been enforced by Ecowas. You see, it's on the cooperation of member states. So it's a moral victory. We wait to see whether it will be enforced by Nigeria, whether its obligations under the Ecowas Treaty.
You said it's a moral victory.
Yes.
Would you like to break that down exactly?
Yes, what I mean is that it has been officially acknowledged that wrong was done by the Nigerian state. And Nigerian state has been asked to compensate the victims. Nigerian state has also been asked to investigate the circumstances that surrounded Endsars. So in that sense, there's a moral victory. What remains is the enforcement of this judgment. And this is where the rubber hits the road, because the Nigerian government has been judged to be wrong and has been asked to do certain things. Will it do it? In the past, we have seen that some of the judgments given by ECOWAS court have not been enforced by a federal government, as sometimes even the judgments of domestic are not sometimes enforced. So we wait to see whether this judgment will be enforced, whether Nigeria will live up to its obligations under the ECOWAS Treaty as domesticated in our Nigerian laws.
Okay, now talking about enforcement, right? What happens if the government of Nigeria chooses not to honor the judgment? I mean, knowing fully well that the president of Nigeria is also the chairman of the ECOWAS.
So that is where I say moral responsibility. That is, petitions will now be written to the administrative body of ECOWAS to emphasize the fact that there's a judgment. Money must be paid. It must be enforced. The orders of investigation must be carried out. The orders of restitution must be carried out. Nigeria freely signed these obligations and domesticated the African and People's Charter. So we have to obey it. So that is the position.
All right, let's go back a bit into, the main objective or the reason for the Endsars. What actually prompted that protest then? Talking about police brutality and bad governance. Let's stay on police brutality for now. How far would you say, if at all in any way, that protest has, gone in achieving, will I call it some sort of sanity in Nigeria's policing system?
Well, you see, it's a perennial problem that we find with the Nigerian police and brutality. It's something that comes and goes. This incident still exists. The atmosphere of impunity is a Nigerian phenomenon that comes and goes, and there's a riot, and then we come and deal with it. So it is still there with us. Under our laws, these things are illegal. I recall that the government itself set up an Endsars panel which also indicted it. The panel set up by the Lagos State government indicted it itself. But instead of taking to the judgment, what they did next was to create controversies around the judgment given them by their own panel. So let's see whether they would obey this one coming from Ecowas.
I mean, I'm still going to stay on the issue of, police relationship, particularly civil relationship when, going about their duties. Would you say that, the reason for the Endsars, that call then, aside the disbandment of the SARS unit of the Nigerian police, would you say at all that protest, impacted on bringing sanity, particularly with the way police deal with the public, Nigerian police, interact and interface with the Nigerian public? Has there been sanity of some sort?
Well, perhaps at the moment there has been some care not exhibiting the worst aspects that led to Endsars. Maybe there has been an understanding that you may not have to go to some extremes to provoke people. But like I said, it's a background thing in Nigeria here. We have an atmosphere of impunity in Nigeria where people in authority feel that they can get away with anything. So it's the background of the society in which we live in. And until we move away from the stage of development we are, I'm not sure it's possible to get to a situation where human rights are totally respected. It will be up to bodies like that, the kind of bodies that took this thing to court, Amnesty International, their supporters, the civil rights bodies who take these matters to court, to continue to do so, to put the in the forefront of our national development. Otherwise, government believes the way our society is structured, it's in favor of those who are. That is the way we live. That is where we are at the moment in our stage of development.
Okay, now let's also look at the aspects, because on a regular, I believe that, just like myself, you also interface with policemen on the road. And some will tell you that, yeah, you have some fantastic ones, but there are some that, of course, there are quite a number of reservations, particularly with the way, they go about discharging their duties. And that brings to the question of the root cause itself in terms of recruitment of this personnel, training, and also disciplinary, processes or measures. Would you say that that Endsars protest, has actually been able to sort of trigger policies that would touch on these areas?
Well, I would not say so. You see, the primary problem of the police, to be very fair to they themselves, is poor pay. Poor remuneration.
Is it really about poor remuneration or the mindset?
Well, poor remuneration because we can't see it. You see, what led to Endsars? If somebody with a computer, or most of these young people, you see them with a computer and all that, you start attributing people without looking for proof that, okay, this man has done wrong. You just see him with a computer, you believe he must be doing Yahoo, and he must be doing something illegal if he drives a good car and all that. These are the kind of things that led our young people to go into Endsars. Yeah, and you see, what will lead you to see a man who is riding a good car and having a computer? What will lead you to try to extort him? If you are well remunerated, you probably will not do that. There's that. There's poor training too, which leads to these kinds of things. Poor training, what kind of training are they being given and all that? So it's part of our the quality of government we have had. We have to say that the quality of government we have had are impacting on these things too. What we can only learn lessons if we have we have mechanisms of good governance to check government. And this process come as a way, because if this process come when all else has failed, you see, when people have no other means of outlet, it started little by little with young men with computers going on the way, being searched and all that. We saw the background to what next to it. It was clear to everyone to see. You see, so it's not as if we don't know the causes. The primary cause of all this, we know is bad governance.
All right. Barrister Agilde, I'm sorry to, of course, interrupt your line of thought, but let's go into a bit of statistics right now. Now, Nigeria has recorded more than 800 incidents of extrajudicial killings across the country in the last 3 years, according to international human rights group Global Rights. Now, the mass atrocities casualty report published by the Global Rights, of course, report says that 848 extrajudicial executions took place in Nigeria between 2020 and 2023, with 127 cases in the first half of the year alone. The human rights group also said that Nigerian citizens are believing in fear and brutality from law enforcement agents as a result. I mean, if you look at these statistics, according to this rights group, it's pretty much alarming. And that brings to the case the aspect of, disciplinary measures, particularly for erring officers. Do you think, or are you of the opinion that, these officers with the so-called disciplinary process that they have serves as enough deterrent for them not to abuse, the privilege of that uniform?
Well, the main when it comes to discipline, it's about our justice system too, and time and how fast this is done and all that, and how fast people are prosecuted. We look back at Endsars, you can hardly recall now which police officer really was charged to court. What was the result of the prosecution? One would have thought, as at now, as an ameliorative, the police put out the statistics of officers that were found culpable during the Endsars, particularly those identified by the panel, who are then subsequent by the panel set up, even by the Lagos State government, who are then charged to court to say that, look, we are addressing these issues. But we don't have anything like that. We can't even point to one single police officer who was charged to court as a result of this Endsars matter. So that's on one part. In fact, instead of focusing on, okay, let's address the issue of those that were the atrocities that were committed that led to Endsars, or those that were committed within Endsars. Government has taken the stance that nothing wrong was ever done. You see, this is what I call bad governance, because good governance to focus on what was wrong before, what led to it, charge those ones to court. Then what during the protest, what happened? Charge those ones to court. You don't just go into defensive mood and say, oh, nothing wrong was done. If nothing wrong was done, if society was moving in the proper direction, why did you have Endsars protest? Nothing was done to address it by our government. Who in that light seeming authoritarian, who in that light do not look like democratic governments.
Okay.
Between you and I, we cannot say one or two officers that were charged with crimes in the events leading to Endsars. In the events during Endsars. This is very sad. This is very sad.
All right. Let's talk about police citizen interaction. We've seen cases where some officials would actually say that in defense of this law enforcement agents, that your approach also matters. Your appearance too plays a key role. You try not to sort of engage them, especially vehemently or aggressively. You should be civil in relating with them, particularly in the interest of your own safety. I would like you to speak on that. Do citizens actually have a role, in determining the tempo or the pace of interaction, or the style of interaction with men in uniform?
Well,
or the outcome of the interaction?
This is the point. The fundamental human rights, part 4 of our Constitution states for these fundamental human rights we have. We have a right to life. It doesn't depend on your interaction with anybody. You have a right to life if you have not committed a crime. Most Nigerians don't attack police when they see them. No one can tell me that. You and I know that the average Nigerian, when he confronts policemen, doesn't go and attack them. So what are you doing that for? No, but the average Nigerian does not simply do that. The average Nigerian may argue with the policeman, oh, my car particulars are okay and all that, but no, it's police. Now, yes, human live with themselves. See how Nigerians are so aggressive. That requires that their right to life, their right to dignity of the human person should not be respected. I simply don't see it. So, yes, human beings, not even police, in relating with other human beings, yes, we should be civil. But Nigerians excessively agree. It would be wrong to say so. I interact with police on a basis, on a daily basis. I don't find that, and I see other Nigerians in that. Okay. I don't find that Nigerians are unduly aggressive.
Okay.
And then you see, look at the way Nigerian police is set up. Every Nigerian
All right, Steve. I'm sorry, but we'll come back to your line of thought. With Steve, if you can hear me, we need to go on a quick break. When we return, of course, you pick up from where you stop. Stay with us. You're still watching Politics HQ on News Central Television, and of course, we are looking at the recent Ecowas court ruling as regards the Endsars protest, where of course, individuals that pushed or actually filed a protest against them were actually awarded 2 million naira as compensation. And of course, we are discussing the outcome of that ruling. You can see the findings there, the key findings there on your screen. You can actually go through to it. Now, we have joining the program right now, Lambert Opara is a former director, National Human Rights Commission. Of course, I still have Steve Agiode, is a legal practitioner, who, of course, started the program with me. Gentlemen, thank you for staying on. Let me start this second half with Lambert. Lambert, well, I mean, looking at human rights, at first, let me know your reaction to, of course, the Ecowas court ruling or judgment as regards, the Endsars protest. And let's also look at human rights generally in Nigeria. I actually read the statistics talking about, police brutality and all of that. As, an active player when it comes to it, are we progressing in ensuring that the rights of Nigerians are further, respected according to the Constitution? Lambert, the question was for you. Lambert, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, so
but before then I couldn't.
Okay, so my question to you is, how is Nigeria faring in terms of human rights, upholding human rights according to the standards of the Constitution?
Well, depending on the perspective you are looking at it from, yes, democracy provides human rights, and over the period of time now we have practiced there is rule of law, parliament is there, all the ingredients that point to facilitating the promotion and protection of human rights as institutions are there. But basically the challenge we do have are, one, the operators of the institutions themselves, i.e. the police and other security agencies. They seem not to be very much at home, or they are not prepared to toe the line as provided by all these institutions set out to promote and protect human rights. But so far, it's not been too bad because, of course, if you trace back where we are coming from, we could say we have made significant progress in the course of our journey towards the propagation of human rights in Nigeria. Institutions have been set up, institutions like the National Human Rights Commission, the Code of Conduct Bureau, and so on and so forth. Those institutions have been doing great work amidst challenges.
All right. Also, let's talk about your take as regards the recent judgment by the Ecowas court concerning the Endsars protest.
It is a welcome development, a very significant step towards realizing human rights promotion in the sub-region. This is a region that is characterized with strife, civil strife, conflicts, coup, which has precipitated violation. And so this judgment by the Ecowas court is a welcome development, and it is something that the human rights community will be proud of, although this is not the first time such judgment.
All right, let me go to, at this point, let me go to, of course, Barrister Aguilde on this one. Now, Barrister, I remember that you were trying to establish a point as regards civilian and, police relations. I would like us to extend it more to men, in uniform generally, including soldiers. An average Nigerian, for instance, sees, a soldier and, is pretty much apprehensive. And there's usually a sense of, will I call it entitlement right now, particularly with soldiers, where they even refer to you and I as bloody civilians in certain contexts. I would like you to speak to this vis-a-vis within the context of human rights.
Okay, the fact that we interact with soldiers first of all, at all in a democracy, is an anomaly in itself. Under the Constitution, soldiers are supposed to be seen when that are given by the president that there's an internal insurrection. Usually, the soldiers really need to be in their barracks. No, I understand the situation where we are. There's a lot of insecurity nationwide now. And in some parts of this country, there's a lot of soldiers, because we don't have enough policemen addressing internal crisis. Is to fight when there's a total breakdown of law and order, and there are provisions in the Constitution as to how to declare state of emergency and how they come in, and their powers are given to for declarations going to the National Assembly. Actually, one of the problems we have is
Barrister Aguilde. I might just need to leave you for a moment. We seem to be having a bit of connectivity issues with you. But let me move to Mr. Okpara on this one. Let's talk about civilian relationship with armed or uniformed men. I'm talking about the police and, soldiers. We've seen cases, even recent cases, where it appears, there's been altercation with community and then soldiers, and then we've seen fallouts. We saw one recently in Abuja. We saw another one in Delta State. My question to you is this. Is the structure or are the laws, put in such a way that at the end of the day, it respects the right of civilians and ensures that should there be any form of altercation, justice at the end of the day is, duly served, particularly to the aggrieved, when it comes to interactions between civilians and uniformed men?
Well, thank you so much. Let me start with the military. When I was at the National Human Rights Commission, we had a civilian military committee, relationship committee. And that committee ensured that there is healthy relationship between the civilian population and the military. Of any infraction, there are various instruments that would have been to ensure that peace is restored, normalcy is restored, or such things are nipped in the bud before they even that is for the these two. Similar thing is also there. There is also the police civilian relationship committee too.
Mr. Akwara, are you there?
Uniformed people that tend to take laws into their hands, and possibly because they do not observe the rules of engagement in any conflict situation, and therefore are subject to perpetuating and assault on citizens. So, but I think over the time, it's not regular as it used to be, but maybe because we are coming from that military background, everything seems to revolve around violence, around the use of force. So sometimes people, the uniformed men don't even see protest as a right. They see it as a confrontation. And I think this has to do with lack of enlightenment and education. And so for now, I think it's not too bad, but I think we should intensify campaign in terms of enlightenment and education within the civilian population as well as the uniformed men. The relationship is not that too cordial, yes, but there needs to be some kind of intensive enlightenment and education on the part of the military, on the part of the uniformed men, as well as so that they can understand, the relationship, where you stand, where you should stop, and where you should also complain. And if there are issues, you do not take laws into your hand. There are appropriate places to report. And I remember that the army in Abuja's headquarters, they have the human rights desk. There are violations. Anybody can go there and report. But the more engaging somebody, maybe then that is of course a dangerous setting that might even take life or properties.
All right, Lambert Okwara, thank you so much. And of course, Barrister Steve Agiode. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me on the program at this time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.